Outer Orange.
Today, we are going to go over the set 6 Paragons of the Colosseum meta. By the time you see this video, this set should already be out because I'm releasing it on the day of the set dropping. So long story short, we're going to talk about the meta, kind of break down some of the cards, and kind of just look at deck lists and basically tell you guys what cards are really good to pick up as we go through this. But first, let's go ahead and break down the meta. We got Dimension Shift, which is basically Kuon. You'll be hearing that name a lot and being brought up in a lot of conversations because it's considered one of the strongest decks in the format. I will say, I'll tell you right now, these other decks here should not be slept on for set 6. Maybe set 7 this might change where Kuon gets more powerful depending on the cards it gets. But I will say for this set, these other decks are actually very strong. Fairy is very, very rush heavy. Dimension Shift is a little slow, and Fairy can just murder it. Same with some of the Abyss decks and some of the Disdain and even some of the Haven lists. So just keep in mind, Kuon isn't the end-all be-all. It just got really good support, and it's a really good deck with what it got this set. Let's go ahead and kind of talk about them as we go through. We'll start off with Forest. If you really just want to keep your stuff exactly the same, you can actually just play Elephant. It barely changes. We got this new card here that basically just evolves. I can't remember exactly what she does, but you can pick her. You can put her in along with the new legendary that's in this set, and then you basically just have an entire Elephant deck. And you can just go that way. But if you really want, you can go down this fairy path here and basically just pick up the fairies. And this deck's just insane. You have the fairy dragon that just basically spawns a bunch of fairies, and then you have like some other cards that basically give the fairy storm, and then you can also buff them up on top of that. So basically the fairy deck is very, very strong. I think one of the strongest decks in this set, actually. It just does a lot and has some storm cards too. You can play the roach in here. There's just so much value out of this deck right now. I think it's very powerful. You're definitely not a sleeper pick at all. I actually think this might be one of the strongest decks, if not the strongest deck. It's just extremely fast and really hard to play into, and a lot of decks just can't handle it. Kuon low-key kind of pulls to this deck if they open really well. There's definitely a deck to fear, so just be on the lookout. It's a very powerful deck. Here's another list here. A little bit different. They're running a little bit the Hunter package. There's another approach you can go. You can run the Hunter package, and it's perfectly fine. And then there's a couple of few lists here. I just think this deck's kind of insane, so just be on the lookout for this Forest deck. There's also just Pure Hunter. So if you just want to go Pure Hunter, you can, because there's just so many Hunter cards that come out. This is a new card. This is a new card. This is the new card. This is a new card. There's quite a few in here kind of roaming around, and you can just build an entire Hunter deck out of it and just go down that way. For Sword, we have Heroic, and Heroic just basically runs the new Portal Girl, and then you run this new 3-drop here. I'm not too familiar with Sword, so I'm not going to go deep into it, but basically just play the new Portal card and you'll be good to go. You have the Usurpation, and by the way, this 1-drop is like insane now. It actually increases the mill so much faster for your opponent, meaning you'll get to your conditions with the Usurpation a lot quicker, so you'll be able to start stealing sooner. You'll be able to start doing everything that you want in this deck a lot sooner. I actually think this deck got a buff, a pretty good buff actually, and I definitely think it's a deck to be on the lookout for. I do think this deck's powerful, so just be mindful. Also, it being able to steal other cards and use them is very in its favor, so definitely be on the lookout for that for the Thief deck. We also have this Romario aggro deck. I don't know what this is, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of posting it here just so you guys can look at it. For those of you guys that are store players, you'll know what it is. But I do want to point out, it does run Katha. Katha is a neutral card that's extremely powerful in this set. I highly recommend picking her up. She is very powerful, very played. One of the best neutrals. Her and I think Jerry are extremely, they shine a lot in this set. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but I'll tell you right now, both of these in the current set that we're in right now, which is set 6 now, both very powerful cards to be running in your decks, whatever decks you are running. Going to Rune, we obviously have a bunch of Kuon. I'm very unfamiliar with Rune, so I'm not going to, sit here and break down every single card. But basically, you want to play the new card, which is Kuon right here, and just go into double turns on top of spawning out your Shikigamis and just kind of going crazy with your tokens. They get like Ward and all these other abilities. Basically, you want to focus on getting the new 2-drop, the new 4-drop, and then I believe there's another 2-drop spell or something like that you play in this deck, and that's basically the main part. You can also combine it with Lashena. I haven't seen a Lashena list on here, but I've seen people talk about Lashena list. Here's another Kuon list. They're kind of all similar with a couple different changes with spells. I think spells is where things change, or running the pink one or not. I think that's mainly where a lot of the changes happen. Like I said, not a Rune main, so I don't know too much. Disdain is actually pretty good this set. The Katha card actually really improves this deck as well. And also they got the new White Frost Girl. There's another version, the one I pulled it in my box opening, but basically it's just a really insane card. It like stuns something for a turn, and I think stunning is like extremely powerful. Actually, I didn't know there wasn't gonna be a stun card, but there is, and it's very, very good. Here's another Disdain list. And there's actually a Garyu list. I didn't even know Garyu was like an actual deck on its own, but it's this guy right here. You can build like a Garyu deck as well with your dragon stuff if you want. Couple other Garyu decks right here. I'm not too sure what his win con is or what he really does. I pulled him. Oh, here's the White Frost card, by the way. But you can just build a Garyu deck, and apparently it plays with this guy. And I remember seeing a couple videos where this guy was in. might make a video actually. I might actually watch some of the gameplay for set 6 to kind of show you guys what this was doing. But yeah, there's like this guy that he basically like just gets bigger and bigger based off what you're building, and it's a really weird deck card, but it's kind of cool. Next we have Abyss. I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to Abyss, so we can definitely kind of go deep diving here. But we have Sanguine. Sanguine basically just run all the Sanguine cards and kind of go crazy. Some people do mix and match with some of the silent stuff. I personally prefer the pure variations a little bit more. You can also run Katha and Jerry in here. I think Jerry should be like 3 of in this deck. Jerry goes so hard in this deck. This deck's extremely fast. I think it's like on par as fast as Fairy, but I think Fairy just has better tools. I will say you can sometimes close out on like turn 4 with this deck, especially if you're running Dark General, which I'm not seeing in this build. I mean, Dark General is kind of cooking. So here's a Dark General with the Jerry package, but basically you run the new guy. The new guy, you can run Fina if you want to snipe some stuff. They're running some bats. This guy also deals some damage. Basically just want to run as many low drops as possible, and then except the exception of Jerry and Dark General, because these cards are just insane. They just do so much work for you, and then you just kind of go ballistic. I don't agree with the Goblin too much, but it does kind of make sense. But yeah, this card's insane in here too. This new guy is just really good. It's just a really good effect. He just does a lot. Long story short, Sanguine I think is very strong, and actually like this one's a little bit more pure. I definitely agree with like a more pure variant. I just think you're very reliant on top decking, so you want to always be top decking cards that will basically keep playing the deck. And if you're top decking cards that aren't doing that, you'll find yourself kind of like stuck sometimes. Actually, even cut back on this card because it's just too slow. Like you need to be constantly just building board, aggroing your opponent, building board, aggroing your opponent. This deck's actually insane. The only way it dies, like realistically, the way it really struggles is rush decks. If you play into another rush deck, you'll usually lose because they're not self-damaging themselves, but they're still smacking your face. But you're self-damaging yourself while also smacking your face. So it's kind of like they're doing double damage to you because you guys are both essentially doing the same thing, except you're killing yourself while doing it. It's not a very good combination, so it could be a little rough on the edges for that end. But outside of rush decks, this deck's insane. Into like decks like Kuon or decks like Aegis, the Sanguine just performs like really well. Here's just another list for y'all. For that, we also have a kind of combo. We have silence, just pure silence, but this one had this hidden. So we have like a pure silence build here, where you just go pure with control with like a touch of silence and just constantly healing yourself. It's pretty popular, very popular build. It's actually where I got some of my original discard ideas, like when I first started playing the discard kind of control Abyss and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah. And there's also this new guy. He's like a 6-drop right here. This guy's insane because he buries 2 cards. He buries 1 on play and 2 if you're at 10 Necrocharge. And basically, it plays around like cards like Aegis because you don't actually select it. You just bury it, which means that they just instantly die. So this is a really cool card. I think his name is Yuzuki. So just a card to look out for when you're picking up your Abysscraft stuff. And then we also have a Silence Yokai list. It can kind of go like a mix of both, where you have like the discard engine, and you also have the Yokai engine with the Jinjutsu. Jinjutsu is right here. You can kind of play like a little bit of both. I personally kind of more towards pure builds. I'm not really a fan of like double engine builds, but it can work because you get to run like all the good cards between both. And a lot of people really put the Omen of Silence like really high up there as like a very staple in most decks. I'm kind of a little more 50-50 on it. It can be kind of, sometimes it feels like you're not really doing much because you just play him and tell your opponent they have like they have to play 1 extra for their spells, but then they'll still like kill it, and then you're kind of like, okay, well, now what do I do? You know, it's one of those things. Executioner and the Luriel and everything else kind of like really fills the package really well. I think this is gonna be a very strong deck. The Yokai cards are really good, and this thing is like obnoxious to take off. And now, especially since we have less kind of banishy cards, like basically like Aegis isn't as potent in this meta. Makes cards like these kind of have more utilities. She's like a 1/9, but she become like a 4/9, a 5/9. She get pretty big, and also she has a really high base. She's really hard to kill off, and she's really easy to play. So yeah, definitely a good card there. Some other Silence Yokai lists right here. This one runs a little bit of the Israfil package. The cards. Israfil's insane. The Death Breath into Israfil is still, I think, like an insane combo. It's really hard to play around that all the time. You can play around it, it's just hard to constantly play around it. Here's another kind of a combination with the Cowie and a couple other builds. So this is like I don't think this is. Oh, there's a little bit. Has a little bit of yokai touch, but I think this is mainly control silence. It basically just runs all the good cards in the craft. They just like kind of put it all into one deck. Go over to Haven. We got Repost. I think Repost is pretty weak this set, I would say. I think he's just a little too slow. Fairy and Abyss and then Kuon are just kind of the better of the group. So you can play it because you get all the cool new cards with the ones that get effects based off how many open play points you have and all that kind of fun stuff. But I do think it's a little bit weaker right now. But like I said, these new cards are pretty good. They got a new spell. We got two new spells. They're both pretty good. This one, I can't remember off the top of my head what they do, but this one you can open your opponent's turn and you can just do some cool stuff. I'm not the craziest fan of this build, but it's not bad. You have the Deus Ex Machina who also replenishes your health points and all that kind of stuff. It's got some stuff going on. We also have Egg. Egg is still like extremely strong. I would say I was a little underrating this deck. I kind of missed just the pure search that this deck has. It just has a lot of search over and over again. I will say I don't know if it's like insane. I think it's like a good deck to take, but it's not the best of the best. The main reason is like the same reason for Sanguine actually. Rush just kills this deck. Also Dragon does really well to this deck. Like just Ramp is very, very brutal, and this deck kind of folds to that. Once they drop like Izzerfils and Bahamats and all that stuff, you basically lose the game because your ambos get nuked. So this deck doesn't change too much. You basically just run any of the 2-drops that you feel like running. So you can run these, you can run Menu, you can run some of the new ones. You can run Katha in this deck too. I think there's a couple lists with like Katha in it as well. Here's Katha, and then here's the Athena, and then they're running Menu instead. So you have a couple options of which route you want to go. Egg is kind of just Egg. You have like this flex slots to run whatever. I run Jean personally right now. I've actually been really vibing with Jean, just having like an extra Egg to kind of deal with. A lot of people like this card. I'm very iffy on this card now. I just don't like this card. Triple Odette is kind of wild though. I'm surprised that some people run Odette so high. She is really good off of tea time. I think one is like I think this is a really good representation of like a pretty good Egg deck. Like it runs the goblins. I think this package right here is way too strong to cut back on. So basically this right here, this is also really good, just playing the new 2-drop, and then basically everything else here. Like this is actually I now that I'm looking at it, this is basically my list. It runs the Kathas and everything. This is that's so funny. This is literally my list because I'm right now, these are Jeans, but they'll just become Kathas, and then I can't remember what I'm replacing this with right now, but I think this is like perfect because it runs everything you need. It runs all the good 1-drops. It runs all the good 3-2-drops. We have some Ward. Ward Storm is actually really good, really underplayed. I think English side likes it a little bit more. I see more people testing Storm Ward Haven stuff, or just Storm or Haven or the Gemstone Girl or whatever it is. There's a couple of different variations, but I actually think this variant of the deck is actually really good. It does lose to board control, but if they don't clear board, the dudes just get huge. Like you can have like random warded cards that are like 10 health, 12 health. They get massive 14s, and they'll have like a lot of buffs on them too. Like they'll be like 8, 12 and stuff like that. So just yeah, Stormward Haven can go pretty hard. So definitely a deck to be on the lookout for. I actually think that's it. There's no Uma. Oh shit, I lied. There's one Uma. So if you're still interested in Uma is still a deck to be, you can invest into, so just keep in mind it's out there for y'all to enjoy. But other than that, guys, I think that's it for this video. I think that's all I really have, but overall really fun stuff. I think this meta is gonna be really fun. I am getting kind of, set 5 wasn't the best meta in my opinion. It wasn't as fun as I thought it was gonna be. It's kind of enjoyable at first, and then it kind of fell off really hard really fast. Hopefully this meta will be a little bit more enjoyable. We are gonna be in Grand Showdown meta as well, so that's gonna be kind of really cool too, to see kind of how Grand Showdown comes out. Also we have shop challenges coming around the corner as well, and that's gonna be really exciting too. But that, guys, that's it for this video. 50 cards at shop, code orange if you need goodies. He does sell Shadowverse Evolved along with other card games, so if you're interested in that, use my code to save yourself some money. It really helps me. And other than that, guys, please like, subscribe, and all that wonderful stuff. I am trying to get to that 5K before the end of the year. We're about a little over 1K away. I think we can get there with Grows community, and I'm really excited. I really want to do more stuff, and once we get bigger, we can do more stuff, so that's really exciting. But other than that, guys, peace out. Das Vidania. I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye!